Welcome into the Chiefs Report by Chat Sports. I am Harrison Graham. We've got some news here on a Tuesday morning, and today is NFL roster cuts day as all NFL rosters must trim down to 53 players by 3 o'clock Central Time this afternoon. So Chiefs news is going to be pouring in throughout the day, so make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit that big red button, and turn on those notifications because when notable news happens, we'll have you covered with a video, especially when the final 53 is set later this afternoon. I am Harrison Graham. Welcome into the show. So the news this morning, a couple of notable cuts were made, so I thought it'd be worth doing a video before I head into the office for my day of work. Josh Gordon, Danny Shelton, both released by the Chiefs. Not huge surprises. Shelton a bit more of a surprise to me, but in Gordon's case, not that much of a surprise at all. We'll talk about him first as it's just he got squeezed out, man. He got squeezed out. We've been talking about this for a few weeks. With the way training camp was going, and since Josh Gordon doesn't contribute on special teams, and he's 30 years old now, he was going to have to really perform in the preseason games, and it just didn't happen. He just did not flash. No pun intended, during the NFL preseason. So he gets cut. When guys like Justin Watson emerge and Daurice Fountain with his special teams ability emerge, what are you going to do? I mean, you're not going to cut McCole Hardman. You drafted Sky Moore. He's going to be here. Juju Smith-Schuster and Marquez Valdez-Scantling are two new signings. I mean, there's 6 guys like that are clearly ahead of Gordon. Like at best, Josh Gordon was wide receiver 7 for this football team. It's unfortunate. I was rooting for him. I think the Chiefs handled this right in terms of bringing him back this year because remember, late last year in the playoffs, they actually cut him and put him back on the practice squad because he wasn't producing. But I remember saying, and I said on this show, that I hope the Kansas City Chiefs bring him back next year, bring him through the offseason program. He can build some of that chemistry with Mahomes, hopefully, and he can be a part of this team. Just didn't, I don't want to say he didn't take advantage of it because the Chiefs have continuously said he's had the right attitude, he's had the right work ethic. I just think other players were better. And sometimes that happens in life. Sometimes you do your best and it's not good enough and life humbles you a bit. And I think that's the case for Josh Gordon here. He tweeted out a couple of things this morning. He said, appreciate all of Chiefs Kingdom, what Chiefs Kingdom has done for me and my family this past year. Thanks for the opportunities and the many memories. He also added, excited to see where the next part of my football journey takes me. Hashtag it's a business. Hashtag dream chasing. So clearly Josh Gordon wants to continue. And I do think there will be some interest across the league in Josh Gordon. So we wish him the best. I think he's a good dude. He's been through a lot in his career, and by all accounts, did all the right things over the past year or so with the Kansas City Chiefs. So we wish him the best of luck. Type Flash in the comments if you're wishing Josh Flash Gordon the best in the future. I certainly am. I think he's come a long way. He's dealt with some personal battles. Obviously off the field, and I think he deserves a chance to continue his career somewhere. It just wasn't going to be here. So type Flash in the comments if you're pulling for Josh Gordon. All right, let's talk about Danny Shelton, and then we'll kind of wrap up the video with, maybe mentioning a couple of other guys on the roster bubble to keep an eye on. Danny Shelton signed a couple of weeks ago, and just got a Twitter notification. Make sure it's not the Chiefs. It's not. Danny Shelton, who signed a couple of weeks ago, big nose tackle who can really stop the run, gets cut. So there's a couple of reasons he could have gotten cut here. Number one, the obvious one, didn't perform well enough, which he didn't do a ton since he signed. Did sign recently, so had less time to prove himself. So that could be part of it. Number two, similar to Josh Gordon, got squeezed out. I think the Chiefs are probably pleasantly surprised with the camp in preseason Kalen Saunders had. Taylor Stallworth is a player that had a strong preseason, someone I had on the outside looking in, but maybe he stays now. You've got Derek Nottie, Chris Jones, Tershawn Wharton, who had another great camp. It's a crowded position all of a sudden. Number three, as a veteran, maybe since he recently signed, the Chiefs are thinking, okay, let's cut him. Let's carry Blake Bell through waivers, who recently had hip surgery, with hopes that he'll get healthy and be a part of the team later in the season. And after initial cuts here tomorrow, when the waiver wire hits, bring Danny Shelton back to be that 53rd player when they put Bell on IR. Bring Shelton back once Bell goes to IR. I could see Shelton being that guy because it's going to be somebody. Blake Bell will go to IR after initial cuts are finalized here. So maybe that's Danny Shelton. I don't think that would be a Josh Gordon, especially with the tweets he sent. Excited to see where the next part of my journey takes me. That sounds like a player who understands that his time in Kansas City is up. But I don't think this is necessarily the end of Danny Shelton. So what do you guys think? Will the Chiefs bring back Danny Shelton after initial roster cuts? Type Y for yes, type in for no. Get your votes in down in the comments section. I think there's a good chance they will, and I'm going to keep an eye on that. So, like I said, get your votes in and let me know what you guys think. So, Josh Gordon, Danny Shelton cut. Two notable names here. The initial crop of cuts that we talked about, Dustin Crum, Fleet Davis, a couple other guys that, excuse me, Mike Rose, Roderick Johnson, that weren't really in the mix here. So, now you're down to 73 players, 20 more to go. I mean, there's a lot still here that are going to get cut. Let's think about a few other players in the roster bubble. So with Gordon getting cut, Daurice Fountain still safe, Cornell Powell, Corey Coleman still around for now. I think it's going to be a tough path for those two. I do think Fountain makes this team. Shane Buechele still on the roster bubble for Kansas City. I mentioned Taylor Stallworth at defensive tackle. Him beating out Danny Shelton for now is promising for his chances. Jermaine Carter at linebacker, a guy that could be on the roster bubble. We'll see. It's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out. Ronald Jones, one more guy I'll mention here, as the roster bubble continues to get tighter and tighter. I'm filming this about 8:30 in the morning Central Time, about 6.5 hours until rosters are due for 53-man rosters. So it's going to be exciting to see who the Chiefs pick. Andy Reid and Brett Veach have some tough decisions to make. And then, of course, practice squad too. Some guys will return to the practice squad. I think a guy like Jerrion Ealy could return to the practice squad. Corey Coleman, Cornell Powell, a couple of practice squad candidates. A guy like Matt Bushman, who had a strong third preseason game. I think he'd be a prime practice squad candidate. Shane Buechele, if he does get cut, would be, but he might get poached by another team if he gets released, which is why I would keep him. But I do think the Chiefs have interest in more than just 53 of their own players. So we'll see who those players are. Okay, that's the news of the morning. Josh Gordon, Danny Shelton released. 20 more cuts to go as the Chiefs are down to 73 players. One more Twitter notification. Let's make sure it's not about the Chiefs. Nope, about the Giants. So we're all good here. I will say a notable cut around the league. O.J. Howard, veteran tight end. Don't think the Chiefs will bring in a tight end, but hey, that was a bit of a surprise by Buffalo. All right, we'll see you guys this afternoon when the Chiefs roster is finalized. For now, Josh Gordon and Danny Shelton hit the road. Until this afternoon, so long.